Hi, Dana.
Oh, good evening.
Second something for him tonight.
You actually have...
Hello, Dana.
Hi. You have two reports. You have a May 31st and a June 30th treasurer's report. For May, our revenue was about $897,000 and our expenditures was $958,000. And we had more capital expenditures this month than, thus the expenditures being higher. And on the variance report that I provided you, for the most part, all of the variances that exceeded the 41% and 41% of the year that we've completed are the same as prior months. Under revenue miscellaneous, I believe it says workers' comp refund, and that's incorrect. It's actually interest earnings, and there was a buyout of a copier that's included in that number. So on your report, if you can make that correction for your record.
You know, why don't you refresh us as to what's in Raymond James? I mean, the market fell to 800 points today, and
CDs.
I'm getting nervous.
Safe
Ours are
CDs.
CDs, and we're at about 2.7% interest. I do anticipate that we have a high risk due to the interest rate that we're receiving for if there are any callables, which I haven't had a chance to look, but the chances of if there's callables, they're going to call them.
Stocks are perfectly safe, too.
Oh, yes, they're all in CDs. They're all in, yes, safe investments.
Some folks are
Yeah,
aware of investment policies.
Oh.
They should be.
No, I'm not.
Muted. Try that. Is it on?
I'm not coming in. No.
And with all of those CDs, they're all laddered, so you constantly will be purchasing new
Yes,
ones.
we have a ladder. We can go up to 5 years in our ladder portfolio, so.
Have any other?
I can go into the June
Yep.
report.
Yeah, you might as well.
And then we have the June report. Revenue was $1,113,000. Expenditures was $1,080,000. We did get about $400,000 of increased revenue in the general fund because of income taxes, which we'll explain in the tax administrator report. On the expenditure side, again, it's higher usage at this time of year because you're doing your capital projects. So capital projects make up more of the increase in the expenditures. And there was all the timing differences that we've had are the same as they've been. Nothing has been changed from.
Do we do anything with our general fund? Do we do anything short-term with the general fund?
We took money out of that. Well, we only have 462,000.
Most of the money in the general fund, we get a small interest rate, not very much in there. So our goal is to try and put more of it into Star Ohio and the Raymond James accounts because we can get more of interest rates. Star Ohio is more of our short term, so that's where we're putting most of our operating revenues in. We haven't really had a need to pull it out. So we'll pull it out if we have large capital bills for like the rec trail funds. We'll pull out monies out of the Star Ohio because that's more liquid. But our goal is to keep the general checking account because we're trying to get the best interest on your funds, get the most earnings. And so far this year we've made about $77,000, and I believe our budget was $76 for the year. So we've already surpassed our budget for the year.
Switch you out. Thank you very much.
I don't usually talk very loud, so I think I talk loud. I try not to yell. Does that help?
I was kind of looking forward to the tax report. It looks like the money is,
That'll be next.
I just wondered what our plans were, rather than just holding it under the bed, or whether we want to keep it.
Basically, what our plans are is because we've been spending on capital, I haven't really been pulling out of Star Ohio. We've been using that extra money that we've been bringing in income tax for our operational costs so that we can leave the money in Star Ohio and earn the interest.
Other questions on the treasurer's report? You'd call roll on that, please?
Perry? Braverman? Charnes? Klein?
Yes.
Bilski?
Yes.
Luter?
Yes.
Duber?
Yes. Moving on to the tax administrator's report of July 31st, 2019. I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. For clarification of Alan, I don't know if it's been explained to you why there's the 3 different sections in there, has it? Do you know?
Just, it wasn't explained, but I...
Okay, you got it. Okay.
I hope Alan remembers that if he has any questions to come on in.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, please stop on in, and I'll be happy to sit down and talk with you.
I appreciate that.
Wasn't trying to highlight you there.
Because of Pinecrest, I assume.
Well, if it's okay for me to go through the report? Okay, you have a June 30th report. For June, we're about $170,000 higher than we were in the June prior year. And year-to-date, we're about $755,000 higher than where we were the same point in time last year. So we're looking pretty nice for June. In June, you'll notice that the less expenses is not a negative number, it's a positive number. And that's because we got the retainage, the retainer that they give back, they give us back a percentage of our costs. So they charge us an administration fee each month, and then every June, July, they do an analysis of what their operational costs are, and you either get a bill saying that you owe some more money because you haven't contributed enough, or you get a refund. And this year, we got about a $72,000 refund. That's why you'll see in June, you have a second page. You don't usually get a second page, but I wanted to highlight at the bottom is the retainer refund.
Does that mean we'll be making putting less money in the coming year? I mean, do we adjust our estimate, basically?
No, because this is, they're just giving us this figure back, and then we keep going on. I think it's 3% that we pay.
Well, we have data that shows what we can expect, so we won't go based on what we got this year. We'll use the, from 0, adding it up.
Yeah. What data we get from that?
Yeah.
So I take the retainer refund for the Orange Village portion, and I prorate it to determine how much of that refund goes to Pinecrest versus the other Orange Village. So that's what that schedule there shows you. The top part of the schedule is just my monthly reconciliation that I do each month to confirm what monies we get from RITA. We get some money from the state, because the state collects net profit taxes, and then also what we are putting into our eGov, our accounting software, and this just shows that we balance. This is just my balancing report that I do each month. So you get a little taste of the behind-the-scenes kind of report there.
I think the most important thing on this page is that it shows that the actual cost, the collections from RITA is 1.38%, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
And last year was, actually last year was 1.46, which was less than the prior year as well, so. And then we had the July report. July, we had a booming July. Our July was about $492,000 higher than we were in the prior July, and we're about $1.2 million higher than where we were last year, year-to-date. In your chart, you'll see the big, huge boom. We did get one taxpayer that they file quarterly, and then their payment just came in. And so it was, the bulk of that increase was primarily from one taxpayer, so that's why we had that unusual bump. You still see we are trending up on the charts for the last few months, but that extra bump was...
Are the Pinecrest residents catching up in terms of process?
Not the residents, the tenants.
tenants.
They're caught up,
Yes.
but there are residents.
I know.
Okay.
Yes, we're doing very well with regards to the income tax, and lodging taxes are all caught up. We have one smaller entity that we're still working on, and the owner was on vacation, so we haven't touched base this week.
I wasn't at the finance meeting, and maybe the piece of information he's really reaching for without knowing what to ask is that the prediction for Pinecrest is about $150,000.
That's good. It gives us some money to...
If we do get 1.8 million, we keep the 500,000 plus the CPI increase, and then we share 42.5, 57.5.
The May, June, and July increases were attributable to tax season, April 15th monies coming in, plus we had those bonuses from the quarterlies that are filing. So I do anticipate August being pretty close to where we were last year. I don't anticipate seeing a huge spike like we've seen for the last few months, so it should stable out a little bit. And then we'll see towards the end of the year again, once you get into the quarterlies, you'll see a little bit of a rise. Thank you.
Call roll on that?
Carrie? Yes. Braverman?
Any questions, concerns from anyone? Okay. Moving on to motion to approve the purchase of finance software, accounting from Software Solutions at a cost not to exceed $51,300. Dana, I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
If you would like to come up and explain this memo, but
I try to summarize the whole story for you all. Basically, we have a software program that was designed in the 70s. It's an older version uses older accounting software package. A lot of communities are leaving that package. They're not maintaining they're maintaining it as is. They're not improving it. And so a lot of communities are leaving that software package and going.
This is in our opinion, yes, we did, about 12 years ago.
So the SSI model has a newer version called VIP. We looked at that. It would be the most cost-effective. If we went to a new software, like a CMI, Creative Microsystems, and went totally changed, you'd be looking at new account numbers, new reporting, new look to everything, and that would take a lot longer. Could take over a year to get that transition in place, and it would be more costly. So we looked at the SSI VIP program, which is the upgraded version. It uses a SQL server, and it has a lot of improvements to the system that we currently are experiencing. We did a survey with 22 respondents to area communities to find out which software package they used, how happy were they, and half of them currently are using the new version we're recommending. 2 of them are planning on going within the next year or so and switching over for the same reasons that we are having with the software. One of the biggest problems we have is our reporting isn't balancing right. We're getting reports with different numbers, and the departments are having a hard time or manually having to track what they're spending and what their budgets what they have left in their budget. Our issue in finance is that we cannot enter the next month until we have finished and closed and balanced. So if once we close, it takes us, several days to get the bank recs done, get all the reporting done, printing out the reports to close that month. In the meantime, everything in finance stops on a revenue side or an expenditure side. We can't cut a check. We can't enter deposits into the system. We can take them to the bank, but we can't report them and record them in our system until that close. So basically, you get this stockpile of stuff. So once you close, you now have to catch up because you have a week's worth of reporting that has to get into the system. That would be solved as well.
With all this improvement, you're here to tell us we still need an assistant treasurer.
No, it's just it's not a different person, it's just the same person.
I know.
Because we have, okay.
Kathy and I both had the software company come out. We did see a demo of it, and we are planning on going to their conference in the fall. They have an annual conference, which is a user group where you get together and you break out in panels with the various departments. They talk to you about improvements, upgrades. You meet with other people that are using the software, find out things they like or that they are using that maybe you didn't know about. So we're hoping that that will give us additional insight into contacts and mentorship with other communities that are using the software.
I know you're all used to me saying when we do these large capital purchases that, of course, it's in the budget. This was not in the budget because we anticipate buying it next year. But if we sign the contract after tonight, we only have to pay 10% this year. So that's not a big adjustment, and we'll finish the rest paying next year. And it's still going to take 9 months to get this transitioned over.
Why the 9 months?
Well, what happens is that, one, they are going back 2 full years and converting all of our data over. This is, like I said, it's a brand-new software package. They have to recode everything that's in our system for the past 2+
It's the same company, right?
same company, but it's a totally different software package. They have to rewrite it. They have to rewrite all the reports because there's different reports that they don't currently have under our old software. So they have to go into everything and recode it and set it all up so that we can then have 2018, 2019 in the new system. So when we come out and have the auditors come, we aren't sitting there having to keep 2 systems open and go back to 2018 and 19 and get those informations.
In that 9 months, though, do we have to have 2 systems running while you're doing?
No, they're going to be going over, setting everything up. They will take everything, once they get it set up, they will download our current year activity, and then they will be live. They will do training, and then they come back within a year after you've used it for several months, and they do additional training, which is included in this package, so that now that you've had a chance to sit and try it out, they come out again and train and see what you're using, what questions you have, or maybe finding out that, hey, remember we talked about this little section, you aren't using that, and make sure that we're getting the best usage out of the new software.
Committee recommended approval.
Questions on this from anyone? If you want to call roll, then please.
Harry? Yes. Braverman?
Yes.
Charnes?
Yes.
Klein? Yes. Bilski?
Yes.
Luder?
Yes.
Duber?
Yes. Moving on to audience comments relating to agenda items only. Anyone? Old business, of pending legislation and motions, ordinance 2019-20 as amended, an ordinance amending certain sections of chapter 1143 of the codified ordinances of Orange Village to require sidewalks, recreational trails, or similar facilities with certain exceptions. This is on for first reading again tonight.
Certain exceptions. That has been removed. The exceptions have been discussion. Last week, we went to a default rule, sidewalks beside the street required, and if someone wants to deviate from that, it would require a variance request. So that the agenda item just needs to be changed.
So is the only reason that this wasn't happening before was just because of number 9? Back here, that just adds in the public and private streets? Previously, it didn't have anything about private?
Correct.
And so therefore was it insinuating public, or was it just
Well, it
relative?
was in the subdivision regulations where you're putting public improvements in. So, this contemplates that on a private development, you're gonna have sidewalks.
Under this ordinance, it only has to be one or the other. In other words, the plan that's submitted doesn't have to include sidewalk and
No.
No.
it has to be consistent on both sides. Do you agree with that in general?
You have to have something on both sides.
Probably weren't allowed.
Huh?
Crazy.
I don't,
And you're envisioning like a rec trail on one side.
I'm asking it,
Yeah, I don't know.
asking whether, planning and zoning.
Just these things, we're planning and zoning sharp.
Certainly, the question would be asked if you see, if a plan came before Planning Commission that had a variation of one system on one side, another on the other side, why they're doing that. But I think the intention is that what you do to one side, you do to the other. And if you don't want to do something, you have to go get a variance. And you have to show cause.
I think what we're saying here is that if they come in with some cockamamie, sidewalk on one side and
Yeah, that's what I just said.
stop at planning and zoning.
It would be questioned at Planning and Zoning as a,
I don't think we'd support a variance for that kind of oddity.
no. Well, that, if, let's say an applicant comes before the community with a plan that shows these two, trail on one side and a sidewalk on the other, obviously, Planning Commission would question that and would not necessarily approve one system that would be different on both sides of the street, unless there's some real reason to do it that way.
Imagine a situation where green space is on one side and it has a recreational trail.
Yeah.
Designed in a certain fashion. The other side is perhaps more of a business side, storefronts or something like that, where you'd have a sidewalk. So, I mean, it's possible.
There's possible for a legitimate reason to be different, but it's not likely.
That level of detail is not in the code.
No.
It's something that planning and zoning would administer in its capacity as the
Correct.
body of the zoning code.
The other question I have is, does the ordinance, I mean, I read it over, and if they come in with something that they call bike paths, is that going to satisfy our board?
Any plan approval has to meet the design criteria of planning and zoning. So,
Okay, so really, when we use the term bike paths in the ordinance, we don't have a particular genre in mind. We're really looking for sidewalk or recreational trail. And they could come in with a third idea, and then you would entertain, or whoever happens to be planning and zoning. Okay, all right.
Any other questions on this?
So this is being referred to planning and zoning now. It will not be on next week's agenda, which is already set and is very long, but we are, let me just see if we're meeting for we're meeting September 3rd, so. We'll probably have dealt with it before it comes back to you. If not, we'll just wait.
Moving on to new business, we're going to table ordinance 2019-22 until the second meeting in September.
I have a question. This is not a new position on ordinance 22?
It's just a retitling of the same basic functions. We had a part-time treasurer and a full-time assistant treasurer. Well, now we have a full-time treasurer, and now we're just putting her as the assistant treasurer.
And is the salary scale the same? Everything is the same, it's just a change of a title?
Yes?
But we'll discuss it more.
I just wanted to know.
We're going to table this till the second meeting in September.
Is it fair to assume that the compensation?
We're going to table this till the second meeting in September.
Well, you're not going to put it on motion tonight, right? All right.
He wants to talk about it next month.
We're going to talk about it next month.
Oh. okay.
Yeah, we're not doing it tonight.
No,
In first reading, he took it off.
I'm curious about the compensation.
No, we'll go over all that, yeah. We're just it's getting tabled tonight. It'll be on for first reading.
And
Do
so,
you need a motion to table?
Do I need a motion to table?
If nobody objects, he can table.
Does anybody object? It's tabled. All right. Moving on. Ordinance 20, there's an error. It's 2019-23.
Oh, 2012.
Going back in history,
So 2019-23, an ordinance
Read these, by the way, before they go out.
It's amending certain fees for, you don't realize it until you're reading it out loud sometimes. An ordinance amending certain fees for connecting directly or indirectly with a water main or a sewer line located in Orange Village to add an interest component to the fee and declaring an emergency. This is on for first reading. Mayor, do you want to?
This is, again, when we've been putting in pieces of water lines and the tap-in ones, not the assessments, but the tap-in lines. Each time we did it, I guess we thought whoever's going to tap in was going to do it immediately. There was an interest factor. But now somebody comes in years after it was done, and we don't have the legal ability to charge the interest. So this puts in place, because we do have a case where somebody came in to do the tap-in, and we're just bringing are we capping it at 2 times the original cost? Others? You remember? Yeah, Dana says do you remember?
The maximum tap-in shall be not more than twice the amount of the original.
Makes it consistent with all the other ones.
Is there a sense of urgency about what's pending?
Well, no, this will ratify we're going to go ahead with them because this ordinance ratifies previous actions taken, right?
No.
We won't hold them up past the construction season.
Any other comments on this? All right.
Suspend and pass it. Proceed anyways, but
Is it suspend? Are you asking her that we should suspend or doing?
my privileges for suspension to something that matters more.
Fair enough.
Moving on. Audience comments relating to matters which advance the good of the village. Committee reports and comments by council members. Ms. Perry? No, I'm sorry.
Comments tonight?
No comments tonight.
Oski?
Last night, I'm not sure if the mayor's going to talk about the meeting that we both attended at Pepper Pike discussing proposed zoning changes at Beach Brook. They had a standing room only crowd there, and they were starting to review the preliminary plans. I'll wait for the, Mayor, did you want to discuss the meeting last night? It was very, very preliminary. There were probably a third of the people there were from Orange, I would say. They had owners of the Landerwood Plaza there because they're concerned what's going to happen to their businesses if there's retail there. I would say there was perhaps some mischaracterization of the traffic impact of Pinecrest. They, I think, built that up to be more than it is actually has become.
It's always a good argument. Traffic.
By the way, afterwards, I talked to some of the council people, and he goes, you know, when I told him that, speaking for Orange Village, our concern is what's immediately next to our boundaries and the traffic on Lander. He goes, I know. He says, I always get off at Harvard and go across Harvard and up Lander. I know every Pepper Pike resident does that.
And there was a brief mention, albeit not very specific, about having a TIF for that project, which that's the first I had heard of that. But I don't know if you have any other comments, Mayor, but it was a...
I thought it was very preliminary. They're at the text stage where they're writing a zoning code that if the voters approve would be the one that would apply. There's no, there are some ideas of what they're going to do, and the developer's going to send me that packet that they were looking at last night. But they're not that far along. It's all very conceptual now, so they don't have a drawing of what they're planning, but.
What I found interesting right now, Beach Brook is zoned for institutional use, so there's no property taxes being paid there. So if there was a TIF, the school's not necessarily losing anything if they're not getting anything at this point. And there was somebody there from the Western Reserve Land, is it Conservancy? Who, of course, would like to get all the land they could if there's money. But it was just interesting that there were a lot of different players from the community who were there, so.
It's like, I'm glad they're doing it now and we're done. They're listening to what everyone has to say about every detail.
And on another note, anecdotally, we were at Brady Middle School today. They were finishing the last phase of their renovations there. I think the paint is still wet, so they're using every last moment, but I think the school board did us a service there. The building looks great. I'm not going to say it looks brand new, but it's bright and airy, and I think they did a good thing by the renovations. And I do. I mean, everybody seemed to be very happy there.
Versus the new school?
Versus a new school, right.
It was a cost-containing thing.
Right. I mean, they've really explored this, and I think the new superintendent's doing a very nice job, so.
Thank you. Mr. Klein?
No committee report and no additional comments at this time.
We talked about the Moonies last week, and was Beechwood supposed to be voting on something?
Here's where we're at. They have gotten a letter because they put up the fence in the wrong place and it wasn't, what was it?
Letter from us or a letter from?
From us.
Okay.
Now, Beechwood has contacted Bob McLaughlin and asked him for a timeline. Apparently, there's conversations taking place. I
Okay.
have not taken the time, which I need to do, and call the mayor and ask him, but it's probably in their committees because, do you know that?
Well, it was, the action that they take there requires a motion by the committee to get things going, as I understand it. And so that's where they are in the process. I think that the next meeting they have, I think, is coming Monday.
Oh, the Beechwood meeting, okay. Why, I walked it today because you had been over at Mare, you said you'd walked it, and I looked at the fence, and I looked at the cladding or whatever. And then there was some discussion about, in 2014, they had had permission to have some sort of fence, and there was some brouhaha about whether it should be there or shouldn't be there. So I have no idea where we stand as a community with this, so.
Right now, it's an administrative action right now.
Yours? Yeah, okay.
They received planning and zoning approval
Yeah.
for a fence of that size.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's in the location.
Right
that
place.
was-
Okay.
And they erected the fence without a building permit, which would have been the opportunity for the building department to double-check that they were going to put it where the plan approval said they were going to put it.
And in this process, we learned that there is nothing in our code, so Steve will be writing in the legislation that hopefully will be here next month, that limits how long that approval is good for from planning and zoning.
Oh, I thought they were grandfathered in. Why did I hear that last week when we were talking about it? No?
Right now, there is no expiration date
Yes.
for planning and zoning or architectural board approval.
Okay.
Is for permit, however.
Once you grant it, that's it. The intention and the recommendation of the administration is to put a one-year, use it or lose it time limit.
From now on in.
What you can come back, and the idea is, excuse me?
Could be applied.
If the conditions have not changed, there would be no basis for denying it on a re-application. But if it's an opportunity for the village to see if things are different than when they previously got approval.
I guess I've struggled with this for many years. What is the goal of Orange Village via Be the Moon is? What do we really want to do?
What was becoming a junkyard.
But I walked around.
They've made strides, it's a little
have.
better now, it looks
There are
better with the fence, but it's not always that way, and it won't stay this way in my experience. If it does, great.
And right,
So then, if
They
it,
still haven't done what we started last year. They still haven't done. They had an agreement with our building commissioner and the Beechwood building commissioner what to do. Pave here and put the fence in the Beechwood side too. Beechwood had very specific requirements what they wanted. They put a fence up. They haven't done any of the other stuff.
the irony is,
That we need to do all of that.
the irony is it's because it's still in two communities. That's where we're stuck.
But
That's where we're stuck. I think that's the problem.
but
Yeah.
there was a meeting between Beechwood Building Department and the Orange Building Department to come to an agreement as to what the expectations would be, and those were then discussed with the Moody's, and they were given a timetable in which to complete those things.
Given from January to June to fix the condition.
Which they didn't.
An agreed program to come to the village and get approval for the plan and getting a building permit, and get a building permit from the city of Beechwood. They took no actions, and now the council, which had previously said, let's give them one last opportunity because we haven't been involved in the process supervising it, that has gone now, and the next step would be for them to consider the legislation that would match up with the village's legislation to move the boundary line and put the facility, put the property in one municipality.
So assuming that to be the case, and it moves over to Orange, and then we're saying now that they're not in total compliance, then what? Then what?
administrative compliance problem to deal with.
Which means that you can shut them down? I mean, I don't know what that means.
That far along yet. We're not looking to shut anyone down.
Well, I find it,
Our laws follow.
What it would mean in practice is if there were conditions that don't meet Orange Village standards, what is now the Beechwood side of the property, if the line were moved, Orange Village would have the legal authority to notify them of the violation and pursue whatever remedies needed to be pursued to alleviate the conditions.
Sounds legal to me. Sounds very legal to me.
I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, as I say, I walked around and thought, this looks much better than it was. I mean, it does, yes, yeah.
Now, probably never would have even talked about them.
Okay. I would like to thank the EMS and the fire and first responders for the Dubiaks. It was a very sad time in the history of the family and certainly for the community. And I'm requesting, please, as death waits for no man, that we lost Kristen this week. And she'd worked very tirelessly for Orange Village in her career. In fact, she helped design all the interior of this building when it was first put up, when Joe was the mayor. And she served on the safety committee, and she organized a salute to Orange, and she researched sponsors for Sharon Delman when we did the cancer run, and it all went to the gathering place. She was also the administrative assistant to Mayor Cathy, and she was our clerk of council. She was industrious, dedicated, and she was loyal to the residents, and therefore asking for a resolution of council memorializing her, if it could be passed, and then sent to Joe and Christopher Dubiak, her son, at their home on Lander Road with our heartfelt condolences. I personally knew her, and I've sort of been an absolute reel this week with shock that it happened so fast, and she was so incredibly sick. So I thank you. You were all wonderful. Joe does. I mean, he was really indebted. You were great. It wasn't the first time you were called out to the house, so I thank you. And I'm asking that her memory be for a blessing. Thank you.
If you could you send me that list of things that you have? We'll get some additional information about when she served in which capacities here. And if members of the administration or council have remembrances that they'd like to list, we can include those in the resolution.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. I think the family, I think her son would be incredibly appreciative. You know, he's a young kid.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
And then you'll draft it up? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Please send me that list.
I will.
Thanks.
I'll send it over to you. Thanks.
Mrs. Kluter, I just want you to know that we have heard from Mr. Nero, Mrs. Nero, and they're very happy with that service.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
If anybody else?
I wanted, let me thank Anna. Anna went to a lot of work, and she sent it all out to me, which I've still got. So if anybody calls me, I can explain it to them. So I appreciated that. Thank you.
Thursday night at 7 o'clock, our state representative, Ronita Brent, will be holding a town hall meeting here in Orange Village. It'll be great to see everybody. And I hope no one has an issue with me taking the lead on this, but I would like to organize for everyone a candidates night. Candidates night? I'm suggesting, because the high holy days are at the end of September, beginning of October, even though early voting will have started, that we put this off until October 16th. That means the early voters might not have a chance to listen, but I don't see any way to do it before then. Anybody feel differently?
Why October 6th, just out of curiosity?
Because October 9th is Yom Kippur,
And we have to cancel the meeting.
the next empty Wednesday,
What's the date you're proposing?
16th of October.
Trying to keep it Wednesday?
15th is planning and zoning, and you're not running, so it doesn't matter.
Attend.
Yeah, okay. The candidates I'll make that night.
Who are the candidates?
Mr. Charnas?
Oh, Alan?
Oh, and Alan, I forgot. Okay, sorry.
One.
Yeah, if I have to.
They said yes. Okay, I will find a judge or somebody to moderate, and We'll do it the exact way we've always done it.
What time are we doing this?
Good for you, 7?
What day was it?
Say the time, Brandon.
18th of October.
7 is, I don't, yeah, that's fine.
7?
Going once?
Okay.
We'll work on it, right, Anna? Anna?
Yeah, sure.
Would be so happy.
I'm writing, she's getting a moderator. I guess I am.
All right, I'm excited about that.
Bet.
I know, love it.
Don't have 20. You don't have 20 candidates.
So I was talking. Okay, that's all. We do have some,
Rules for that?
yes, oh, yeah. Yeah, the same way we've always done it, you'll have those rules ahead of time. People will answer,
Negotiate those rules? you know?
no.
Think on your feet.
No,
I'll make the rules. What's that?
So can I moderate because that's usually the side I'm on?
No, I think there's a problem with that.
Actually, I know this is out of turn, but is it possible that I can make a comment about something that happened? It wasn't an agenda item, but.
at the end, you can make a comment about any topic. But that moment came and went already.
I know, it breezed by.
Well, why don't you finish your comments?
I'm done.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I put it up?
I just,
State your name.
Oh, my name is Stacy Vincent, Stacy Edelman Vincent. I live in Orange Hill Estates. And right before I was in Europe the last couple of weeks, but the night before I left, there was, this may have been addressed last week, but there was a house fire in Orangewood. And through various channels, I was notified. It happened to be a friend of ours, so I ran over there. And I wanted to send kudos to our fire and service departments because there was a patrolman who was going around, and because of that person who was just doing his job, he saw the smoke, he stopped what could have been a disaster, a police officer.
Our police officers.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It was one of our police officers who just happened to be doing his duty, patrolling, and happened to see the smoke, and because of his work and efforts, he saved what could have been a disastrous situation. It still was hard on the family, and I was privy to all of our firefighters and the community that gathered around, and I was really so proud to be a resident of this community, and I just wanted to say thank you to our patrolmen and our service organizations, because I sat there with the son who was watching what was going on, and the two of us together just went, we're really honored to live in a community like that, and I just wanted to share that. So, sorry I'm doing it later than it should have been in the agenda, but I thought it was important.
We always take comments like that.
I don't have any comments, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Harry? Yes. Braverman? Yes. Tarnas? Klein?
No.
No. Bilski?
Yes.
Luder?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm having such a good time.
Doesn't want to go home.
I don't want to go home.